Number 1. Fear. Fear is the first truth you must swallow if you ever hope to rise above the world that keeps trying to tame you. Because whether people admit it or not, fear is the currency that shapes their choices. It pulls their strings long before ambition, loyalty, or love ever do. And if you want to become untouchable, you must begin not by dominating others but by mastering the fear living inside your own chest. The fear that whispers, "You're not enough." The fear that tightens your throat when you face conflict. The fear that stops you from stepping into the life you know you're meant to claim. Understand this. Fear isn't your enemy, it's your compass. And every time you feel it, it's pointing you toward the threshold where your next evolution waits. Because the men who never feel fear are either dead or lying, and the men who rise above it are the ones who learn to stand inside it without shaking. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago when he wrote that fear governs behavior more reliably than love. But the real secret is this. The man who fears nothing internally becomes the man no one can shake externally, and that is the kind of strength your future demands. Calm, grounded, unflinching. You become dangerous not by threatening the world, but by training your mind to remain still while the world tries to unsettle you. Because when your emotions stop controlling your judgment, your path becomes straight, your will becomes sharp, and your presence becomes heavy enough that others feel it before you speak. So ask yourself now, what fear is holding you? The fear of losing? The fear of being judged? The fear of stepping alone? Identify it, confront it, inhale it, sit with it until it loses its claws. Because once you stop running from fear, you stop running from yourself. And the man who does not run becomes the man who leads. This is where your transformation begins, not with force, not with aggression, but with the silent discipline of a mind that refuses to bow to its own shadows. Master that, and you've already taken the first step toward becoming someone the world cannot bend. If you're ready for the next truth, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next step in your evolution. Number 2, gain. Gain is the silent engine behind every human decision. And if you truly want to become untouchable, you must learn to see how desire shapes people more than morality ever will. Because beneath every friendly smile, every promise, every alliance, there is always a calculation, visible or hidden, about what can be gained from you or lost because of you. This isn't cynicism, it's clarity, and clarity is a weapon sharper than ambition. Because when you finally understand that most people move for advantage, not affection, you stop expecting loyalty from those who only know convenience, and you stop giving your time to those who take without ever intending to return. Machiavelli knew this better than anyone. He wrote that men are quick to abandon you when their interests shift, not because they are evil, but because they are predictable. And predictability is the key to power, because when you can predict a person's pursuit of gain, you can avoid being blindsided, disappointed, or used. But more importantly, you learn to hold yourself to the same standard. Pursue what elevates you, what sharpens you, what builds your future, and let go of everything that drains, distracts, or diminishes you. This isn't selfishness, it's strategic survival, because a man who sacrifices himself for everyone ends up becoming valuable to no one. Real strength comes from knowing your worth, guarding your energy, and refusing to negotiate with anything that undermines your peace or potential. Gain doesn't always mean money or status. Sometimes the greatest gain is discipline, solitude, self-control, or the power to walk away from situations that your old self would have begged to stay in. The more you grow, the more you will outgrow people who live small, think small, and want you to stay small with them. And that's when you must choose between comfort and evolution, stagnation and ascent. Understand this. A man focused on gain is not greedy, he is directed, and direction is what separates the wanderer from the conqueror. So refine your ambitions, strengthen your boundaries, and move with the confidence of someone who knows exactly what he brings to the table and refuses to sit where he isn't valued. Let your presence have standards, let your mind have purpose, and let your path have intention, because a man who knows what he wants becomes a man who cannot be manipulated. And if you're ready for the next stage of your transformation, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss number 3 of this evolution. Number 3, Whittier power. Power is not loud, it is not frantic, and it is not something you chase with desperation. Real power is the quiet certainty that you can shape your world instead of being shaped by it. The inner solidity that cannot be rattled by opinions, setbacks, or shifting loyalties. And if you want to become untouchable, you must learn to build this kind of power from the inside out. Not by controlling others, but by mastering the one person whose discipline actually matters, you. Machiavelli understood that authority without stability collapses, and charisma without backbone crumbles, which is why he wrote not for tyrants, but for thinkers. Men capable of carrying themselves with the kind of stoic gravity that commands respect without ever needing to beg for it. Power begins with self-governance, with your ability to command your impulses, your reactions, your anger, your doubt, because the man who cannot lead himself has no business trying to influence the world, and the man who is ruled by emotion will always be the pawn of the one who is ruled by reason. You become formidable the moment you gain the ability to respond instead of react, to observe instead of explode, to strategize instead of panic, because emotional control is the foundation of every strong decision you will ever make. The more you sharpen your judgment, the more you narrow your circle, the more you protect your energy, the heavier your presence becomes, until silence itself becomes your armor and patience becomes your blade. Understand this. Power is not domination, it is direction. It is the discipline to keep walking toward your purpose while others get lost in distraction. It is the strength to carry responsibility while others chase pleasure. It is the steadiness to endure pressure that would break weaker men. And when you reach this level of internal authority, something shifts. The world stops feeling overwhelming, people stop feeling unpredictable, and life stops feeling chaotic, because you are no longer being tossed by the currents, you are cutting through them. This is what it means to be untouchable, not invincible, not ruthless, but unshakable, a man who stands upright even when the ground trembles. Build that, cultivate that, and the world will feel your weight without you ever raising your voice. If you're ready to continue this ascent, like the video, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss number 4. Number 4, the mask. Every powerful person you've ever met wears a mask, not to deceive the world maliciously, but to protect their direction, their purpose, and their emotional landscape from being disrupted by those who haven't earned access. And if you want to become untouchable, you must learn the same art, not fakery, but selective revelation, because the man who shows everything sacrifices his leverage, while the man who reveals only what is necessary moves through life with an aura that others cannot decode. Machiavelli understood this not as deception, but as self-preservation, the ability to present calm when you feel pressure, to present certainty when others doubt, to present strategy when others act impulsively, because the world does not reward raw emotion, it rewards controlled presence. Your mask is not a lie. It is your discipline made visible, a boundary between your inner world and the noise around you. And when you master it, you stop becoming predictable, exploitable, or easy to read. The strongest men are never the loudest, never the ones spilling their pain everywhere, never the ones explaining themselves to anyone willing to listen. True strength is silent, measured, and deliberate, because once people cannot guess your motivations, they cannot weaponize them. Once they cannot read your emotions, they cannot pull you off balance. Once they cannot predict your next move, they cannot interfere with it. This is not darkness, it is sovereignty. The right to carry your thoughts without scattering them, to build your plans without broadcasting them, to protect your peace without apologizing for it. Remember this, transparency is a gift, not an obligation, and only a fool hands it to everyone. You must become the kind of man who speaks with intention, not impulse, whose actions are chosen, not reactive, whose presence is felt, not wasted. When you control your expression, you control your narrative, and when you control your narrative, you control your trajectory. The mask you wear is not to hide weakness, but to guard strength, because not everyone deserves to know what drives you, hurts you, or shapes you. Some people deserve only the version of you that keeps your power intact. Refine your silence, refine your boundaries, refine your emotional footprint, and you will move through the world with a gravity that unsettles the insecure and inspires the discipline. If you're ready for the next stage of your rise, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss number 5. Number 5, control of self. Before you try to master influence, strategy, or presence, you must confront the simplest but hardest battlefield, the one inside your own mind, because every weakness you refuse to discipline becomes a doorway for the world to walk through, and every impulse you fail to govern becomes a chain pulling you away from the man you're trying to become. Understand this. Self-control is not about suppression, it is about direction, the ability to catch the early spark of anger before it becomes a fire, to feel the sting of insecurity without letting it guide your decisions, to notice the pull of old habits without letting them dictate your future. The man who cannot control himself is controlled by everything, by emotions, by people, by distractions, by temporary desires that rob him of long-term strength. And Machiavelli understood this deeply. He wrote not for the reckless, but for the deliberate, for men who understood that ruling oneself is the foundation of ruling anything else. Your self-control must become your quiet fortress. When someone disrespects you, you respond with clarity, not chaos. When life challenges you, you tighten your discipline, not your ego. When your mind tries to drag you into old patterns, you anchor yourself back into the identity you are building, not the identity you are escaping. Remember, power leaks through emotional cracks, and emotional control seals those cracks shut. A man who is centered, calm, and steady under pressure becomes a force that others instinctively respect, because stability is rare, and rarity is valuable. Your consistency becomes your reputation, your patience becomes your advantage, your restraint becomes your hidden weapon, and the more you master yourself, the less you will seek validation, the less you will fear solitude, and the less you will bend to temporary storms, because you will have built an inner climate that cannot be touched by external weather. This is what masculine stoicism truly means. Not suppressing emotion, but channeling it, steering it, using it as fuel rather than letting it burn you down. Every day you choose structure over chaos, intention over impulse, purpose over distraction. You carve yourself into a man who cannot be emotionally hijacked by anyone. And when you reach that level, people feel it, even if you say nothing. They sense the steadiness, the groundedness, the self-command, and that alone shifts the power dynamic in your favor. If you're ready to step even deeper into your transformation, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss number 6. Number 6, reading people. Powerful men do not rush, they observe, and if you want to become untouchable, you must develop the ability to read people without absorbing them, seeing patterns without becoming entangled in them, understanding motives without being manipulated by them, recognizing wounds without trying to fix them. This isn't about controlling others, it's about protecting your own path by understanding the psychological currents that drive human behavior. Because once you learn to see, nothing catches you off guard. People reveal themselves constantly through micro-expressions, tone, reactions, inconsistencies, the way they shift when you speak truth, the way their energy tightens when your standards expose their lack of discipline, and the way they light up when they sense advantage. Machiavelli wrote that men judge more by the eye than the hand, but the wise man judges by patterns, not appearances. When someone praises you too quickly, look for their angle. When someone becomes defensive over simple questions, look for insecurity. When someone only appears in times of comfort and vanishes in times of pressure, look for convenience disguised as loyalty. And remember, actions whisper the truth long before words pretend to explain it. Learn to sit in silence and watch how people move, how they treat boundaries, how they behave when there's nothing to gain, how they react when you stop giving, because these moments reveal character more sharply than any confession ever will. The key is not to judge with emotions, but with clarity. Not to assume the worst, but to understand the predictable. Because human nature, at its core, follows patterns. Fear shapes their hesitation, desire shapes their decisions, and insecurity shapes their contradictions. When you understand these drivers, you stop taking things personally because you realize people's actions are reflections of themselves, not reflections of you. This awareness frees you. It keeps you from chasing approval, keeps you from falling for illusions, keeps you from tying your worth to anyone's shifting mood. But more importantly, reading people allows you to hold your center, to respond with strategy instead of reaction, to invest where loyalty is real and withdraw where energy is draining. Your goal is not to expose others, but to refine your own discernment, because the man who sees clearly walks confidently. He wastes no time, he gives no unnecessary access, he builds no fragile connections, and he moves with the certainty of someone who understands the landscape he's walking through. If you're ready for the next step of your ascendancy, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss number 7. Number 7, strategic distance. If you truly want to become untouchable, you must learn the power of distance, the ability to step back from people, emotions, noise, and impulses long enough to see the landscape for what it is, not for what your feelings tell you it should be. Because a man who stands too close to anything loses perspective, but a man who creates space gains clarity, leverage, and control over his own trajectory. Strategic distance is not isolation, it is selective proximity. The art of giving your presence only where it is respected, your time only where it is valued, and your energy only where it amplifies your growth instead of draining it. Machiavelli understood that closeness breeds familiarity, and too much familiarity erodes respect, which is why he emphasized that a leader, of others or of himself, must know when to engage and when to withdraw, when to speak and when to fall silent, when to step forward with presence and when to disappear into discipline. Distance reveals truths that conversation hides. Who checks on you when you're quiet? Who respects your boundaries when you're unavailable? Who falls away the moment you stop giving? And who remains consistent when access is limited? This is not about testing people. It's about observing who they naturally are when your energy is no longer feeding them. Strategic distance also protects your emotional equilibrium. When you're too entangled, every small shift feels like a storm. But when you stand back, the storm becomes a pattern you can understand rather than a threat you must react to. And remember, distance is not coldness, it is sovereignty. The right to choose where your mind rests, where your heart invests, and where your presence lands. The men who rise are not the ones who cling or chase, but the ones who maintain enough space to see the angles that others miss. Because while the impulsive drown in the moment, the strategic navigate the horizon. Distance sharpens judgment, strengthens intuition, and teaches you the difference between genuine connection and emotional dependency. It keeps you from being overexposed, overextended, or overwhelmed. And the more you cultivate it, the more you will feel a shift, not just in how you see people, but in how people see you. Calmer, sharper, more grounded, harder to read, harder to shake, harder to influence. This is the foundation of cold power, not cruelty, but clarity, not avoidance, but alignment with your higher self. If you're ready to continue this transformation, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss number 8. Number 8, emotional detachment. Emotional detachment is not the absence of feeling, it's the mastery of it, the ability to feel deeply without being dragged, shaken, or controlled by what you feel. And if you want to become untouchable, you must understand this distinction, because the men who lose themselves in emotion become reactive, unstable, and predictable, while the men who learn to hold their feelings with steady hands move through life with a presence that unsettles the insecure and commands respect without saying a word. Machiavelli understood that consistency creates credibility, and credibility creates influence. But consistency is impossible when emotions pull you like shifting tides, so detachment becomes the anchor that keeps your purpose grounded even when the world tries to sway you. Emotional detachment doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop collapsing. Stop letting temporary feelings sabotage permanent goals. Stop letting other people's moods hijack your direction. Stop letting attachment blind you to patterns that your clarity can easily see. When you detach, you give yourself permission to observe instead of absorb, to think instead of react, to choose instead of be pushed. You stop tying your worth to validation, your peace to approval, your identity to relationships or outcomes. And in that space, something powerful happens. Your mind becomes sharper, your decisions become cleaner, and your life becomes quieter in all the ways that matter. Detachment allows you to walk away from situations that drain you without guilt, to pause before responding without feeling weak, to hold boundaries without apologizing. It turns emotional storms into passing weather rather than personal threats. And the more you practice it, the more you realize that most chaos isn't your chaos. It's just noise trying to find a place to land. But it can only land if you let it. Emotional detachment is your way of saying, not here, not in me. Understand this. Your strength is not in how much you feel, but in how little those feelings can shake your direction. And once you reach that level of emotional sovereignty, you become a man who cannot be manipulated, baited, guilted, or dragged into battles beneath him. You become a man whose calm is intimidating, whose silence is powerful, whose presence is heavy. And those who operate from chaos will find themselves repelled by your discipline. If you're ready for the next ascent in your transformation, like the video, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss number 9. Number 9, unshakable presence. Presence is not built by noise, dominance, or aggression. It's built by the quiet weight of a man who knows exactly who he is, exactly what he stands for, and exactly what he refuses to tolerate. And if you want to become untouchable, you must forge a presence that enters a room long before you speak. This kind of presence comes from inner alignment, from living by principles instead of impulses, from carrying yourself with a discipline that cannot be faked and a certainty that cannot be borrowed. Machiavelli understood that a man with a steady center influences others without force, because human nature gravitates toward stability the way metal gravitates toward magnetism. People sense when you're grounded. They feel it in your pace, your posture, your stillness, your lack of neediness, your refusal to chase validation, and your rare ability to stay calm when others lose control. Presence is simply the echo of a well-built mind, and most men never develop it because they live scattered, inconsistent, emotionally loud, always reacting, always explaining, always adjusting themselves for the comfort of others. But a man with unshakable presence moves differently. He listens more than he speaks, observes more than he reveals, and carries an energy that says he's not here to impress, he's here to exist on his own terms. Presence is a reflection of standards. The higher your standards, the fewer your words need to be. The fewer your reactions, the more powerful your silence becomes. The more you trust yourself, the less you try to prove yourself. Presence is also built through pressure. Every challenge you survive becomes a layer of steel beneath your calm, and every storm you endure without breaking increases the gravity of your aura. People read you even when you're not trying, because the world has become so accustomed to insecurity that genuine composure feels like authority. And the more consistent you become, the more your presence turns into a boundary that others instinctively respect. The key is not to project strength, but to embody it. Not to perform confidence, but to live in it. Not to chase control, but to carry yourself with the inner architecture of someone who cannot be easily moved. Your presence becomes untouchable when your sense of self no longer depends on external chaos or external approval, and when you can stand firm not because life is easy, but because you've learned to be steady in the middle of it. If you're ready for the final step of this ascent, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss number 10. Number 10, the final key, becoming untouchable. In the end, everything collapses into one truth. The man who becomes untouchable is the man who understands his nature, masters his impulses, and controls the levers that move human behavior. Because fear, gain, and power are not just concepts. They are the architecture of influence, the silent engines behind every decision people make. And when you learn to navigate them without hesitation, You stop living as a participant in the world and start operating as a strategist above it. This final key is simple but unforgiving. Never let the world define you, never let people decide your worth, and never allow your emotions to become the handles others use to control you. Because the moment they can predict your reactions, they can manipulate your reality. Becoming untouchable means you choose reason over impulse, direction over distraction, mission over comfort, presence over noise, and principle over approval. It means you cultivate a mind that is both sharp and cold, a heart disciplined enough to feel without being ruled, and a will strong enough to act without begging for permission. Understand this: the world respects two things, value and power, and you must build both relentlessly. Value comes from skill, discipline, mastery, and the ability to produce outcomes others cannot ignore. Power comes from your detachment, your composure, your ability to walk away, your ability to enforce boundaries, and your refusal to rely on anyone who can destroy you. Combine these, and you become a man whose decisions shape his environment instead of reacting to it. People sense when you are untouchable. They sense it in your eyes, in your silence, in the way you do not chase, in the way you do not fear loss, in the way you do not fold under pressure. And once you reach that level, the world begins to adjust itself around you. Opportunities move toward you, respect arrives unrequested, and influence grows quietly but undeniably. This is the Machiavellian truth most never grasp. You do not rise by demanding power. You rise by becoming the kind of man for whom power becomes a natural consequence of who he is. So take these keys: fear, gain, power, and build yourself with the precision of a strategist and the cold calm of a stoic. Now step into your ascent, own your nature, and walk the path the weak avoid. And if this message awakens something in you, like the video, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss what comes next.